Welcome back to another video, guys. And today I'm going to be addressing an accusation that many Christians use against Catholics. They accuse Catholics of work salvation. They think that we believe through the sacraments we are working our way to heaven. This cannot be further from the truth. For example, in this comment, a friend of mine says, "With all due respect, Ash Wednesday isn't a Christian practice, it's a Catholic one. Why? Because Catholics believe in doing works." She thinks that Catholics believe we need to work our way to heaven, and that we don't believe in faith alone. And she thinks that we don't draw our practices from the Bible, which is why she puts in quotations, practices. But do Catholics really believe in works for salvation? No, we do not. Protestant Christians confuse our understanding of justification. I wrote a whole discourse on this, and I argue this and debate this with Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Muslims who do believe in work salvation, and then say that Paul and James are contradicting each other. And I wrote a whole thing on faith versus works, how we are saved by faith alone. It's a free gift from God. And I explain that James and Paul are not contradicting each other. In fact, they're in two different conversations. Paul's discussion in Romans 4 is about how a person is justified before God. That's why he talks about Abraham and how he was counted righteous before any works of the law. Before circumcision, before Isaac on the altar, he was counted justified by his faith alone. James' discussion is about what kind of faith saves. And he says, can a faith that is mere profession and not a real possession save? So we're talking about profession over possession. And the answer is, of course not. But James continues in James chapter 2, 14 through 18. He says, in faith without works is dead. He says, what does it profit, my brethren, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can faith save him? Thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. I will show you my faith by my works. And he was telling you what it means to have real faith. He's not saying you work your way to heaven. It's not talking about salvation. If you read verse 15, it tells you what it means. If a brother or sister is naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you says to them, depart in peace, be warmed and filled, but you do not give them the things which they are needed for the body, what does it profit? So if someone comes to you hungry and cold, and you just say, oh, I'll pray for you, but you don't help that person, is that a real living faith? You could say you have faith all day long, but if you don't act like it, do you really have faith? Or are you just saying you have faith? James wasn't saying that you have to work your way to heaven. He was talking about having a real faith, a living faith versus a dead faith. So notice, in this passage, the question here is not whether we are saved through faith alone or through faith plus works. The question is whether a dead faith saves or a living faith saves. So Catholics don't believe that all the sacraments and everything that we do and everything that we practice that the Bible teaches will get us to heaven if we do those things. No, that's not what it means. It's a way of us living out our faith, having a true living faith. But through faith alone is how one is saved. But do you have a living faith or is it a dead faith? Are you just saying you have faith, or do you truly have faith by embodying what Christ taught? True faith through works in Christ, you're indwelled by the Spirit of God. If there are no good works that are being produced, there is no true faith. You are simply professing with your mouth that you have faith. James is not saying that faith saves you anyway. He's saying if you are simply saying you have faith, but there are no works being produced by that faith, that faith is a dead faith. It's not a real faith to begin with. And a dead faith cannot save. He's not saying that you need to work to have faith. He is saying that if you have real faith, that your works will vindicate what you're saying, thus proving your faith to be real. If you are in Christ and alive in Him, good works will follow. You could wear a cross around your neck all day long and then go rob old ladies and kill people and rape and steal and say you believe in God, but as you're doing all these things, do you truly have faith? Because if you had faith in that relationship with Christ, would you be doing those things in the first place? So just because we practice these things and we have these sacraments, that doesn't mean that we believe those things save us.